Hey everybody, it's your Dutch friend Jan and you're listening to episode 201 of the Creator Empires podcast. And this is the podcast where we talk to builders in the language education space. And this is my first episode where it's just me here. It's my first solo episode that comes with video. In this episode I'm going to talk about what we learned in Amsterdam, data, AI, and how to grow your course business in 2026 and beyond. Now, for those of you who don't know, we run a community for content creators in the language space, right? There's about 50 of the biggest language channels on YouTube. 50 of the biggest Langpreneurs are in it. And twice per year, we run a live event. We've been doing that for 8 or 9 years. We've run over 11 events now, and our most recent event took place in my own country, the capital of my country, in Amsterdam. And so this was a small group of about 20 Langpreneurs. I was there. My co-founder Olly was there as well. Olly runs Story Learning, which is kind of language a brand, language course brand that has generated over $10 million, or probably pounds as well. And he also runs a personal brand where he helps some of the biggest creators in the education space grow their businesses. We were also accompanied by Yasmin from Teachable, the course platform, and she works with their best performing schools on the platform, head of customer success. So she actually joined the event, shared her input, and then she also gave a talk where she shared some of the latest insights that they have in this industry, in the course business, in the industry of course businesses. And that was really interesting because, as we know, AI is changing the way course businesses are being run and the way people are buying courses or are buying education. And in this event, we really learned what is changing and where the opportunities are. So I have my notes here in front of me. I won't be able to share everything, especially like the talk that Yasmin from Teachable gave, for example. Lots of information was confidential, so I can't share that on the podcast here. If you were there, good for you. But I will share some of the main takeaways, right? So, okay, here we go. 20 speakers, all Langpreneurs. We had 2 speakers. Olly gave a presentation about how AI has changed his business, Story Learning. Yasmin talked about shadow insights in the industry. And yeah, we know that there's a lot of fear in the creator space right now about AI. And by the end of this episode, I want you to feel something different. Not naive optimism, but actual clarity. Right, so here we go. Part 1, what the data actually says. Right, and most of the insights here come from that talk that Yasmin from Teachable gave. So everyone's asking if AI is killing course sales. Now, here's what the numbers actually show. Right, so Teachable surveyed their students. So they didn't survey the creator, but actually the people end up buying the creator's course. Right, and their discovery channels were as follows. So search was the biggest, then social, then communities, and then podcast or email. And paid ads was only 10 to 11%, right? So we often talk about how difficult it is to run ads for creator businesses profitably. The students say that only 10% find out about the courses through ads, right? And then AI search suggestions are now more or less as big as ads. So if you are an established brand and you have been around for a while, then this is something that you can benefit from, right? Especially if you have tons of good reviews on Trustpilot, in the App Store, hopefully also on Reddit. AI uses that information. AI or LLMs are trained on all those data sets, on all those websites. And there is a chance that more and more people are going to find you because LLMs are suggesting you now. If you don't have that brand yet, if you don't have that online reputation yet, then getting good reviews and having people talk about your stuff are actually more important than ever. And this is something that's growing. AI search didn't exist a few years ago, and now it's for course businesses it's more or less already as much or as big as a discovery channel than paid ads. So the practical question for you: if someone opens GPT or Claude right now and types, "Who should I learn Spanish from?" does your name come up, right? And if your name doesn't come up, then maybe there's something you can do about it. And if you don't know what to do, just ask the LLM where you are. I can give you some good advice. Now, the good news is, the big question is, are people still buying courses, right? And the good news is yes, people are still buying courses. Almost the majority, or about the half of the students that were being surveyed here, actually bought 2 to 3 paid learning products in the last year. All right. So self-study courses are not that. They're still going strong. Less than 10% of students skip buying a course because of AI or free content, right? So this does show that AI is changing things. It is affecting the way we're selling courses or the way people buy courses. But so far, I don't know if you would consider 10% as a minimum impact, but it's not that course businesses are that, right? So AI is not replacing paid courses at scale, at least not yet, but it is changing pre-purposed behavior. So students are using AI to evaluate teachers before they buy. They're asking, is this person creditable? Is this course right for me? So your presence in those conversations matter. What's also interesting, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, this was not in my notes, is that people do actually use AI as a way to complement their courses, right? Because in a course, you teach something. But to become good at something, you need 2 things, right? You need the input, you need to learn, and then eventually you need the output. You need to do the thing that you are learning. That's how you become really good. And that's something that AI can now facilitate, right? In language learning, this often comes down to making homework, doing exercises, but those needed to be corrected, right? And now AI can do that for you. Same thing with speaking practice. Okay, people learn all the grammar, they learn all the words, but they still can't speak because they are embarrassed. It can be expensive to get a one-on-one tutor, but now they can do that with AI. So students are not necessarily using AI to learn new things, but to practice new things that they have learned in your course, right? So this is where AI and courses come together. And that's obviously something that we are doubling down on with the app that we are building with Teacher AI. We never said that we were going to replace language courses or language teachers. No, we were always going to complement. And the research that Teachable shared actually confirmed this. Confirmed that people are still buying one-off courses. They still want to learn from the influencer or from the person. They still want to learn from you. They want to learn your methodology. They want to learn the way you do things. They like your philosophy. But then eventually they need to practice. And especially in language learning, AI can solve that speaking practice problem, right? And that's also how people in general are using AI. Not just in the language niche, but they're using it often after taking the courses to get additional practice. Now, let's talk about the completion problem. And this is one of the biggest problems with course businesses, right? We all know that most of the students don't finish your course. And that's quite sad, because that means that they're not seeing all the work that you've put in, and they're probably not getting the results, right? So low completion rates are universal, but the solution for most creators is actually not sending reminder emails and push notifications. And again, they ran a survey, and email reminders and push notifications actually ranked last in what students say and would help. Then the big question is, okay, so what ranked first? And the answer is clear milestones and progress tracking. Second, personalized feedback. And third, shorter and more focused lessons. So I think this comes probably down to curriculum design, right? You want to teach things in small chunks. And you want to offer personalized feedback. If that's something that you can't offer now or that you're not offering yet, think about how you could offer that now with AI, right? If you are not able to check everybody's exercises, to check everybody's homework, maybe now actually a team member of you would be able to handle that with AI. Progress tracking, I think it probably comes down to clear milestones. Yeah, this comes down to just creating a good course with a good logical curriculum. And yeah, the progress tracking, I guess, has to be done by the platform, right? So yeah, students, they don't want to be poked by push notification. They want to by push notification, they want to feel they're actually moving forward, and that's that's a big difference. I'm just reading my notes here. Yeah, it will be like something that we are trying to do now is as soon as somebody buys your course, right? Ideally, you want to have some kind of onboarding, right? So why did you buy? What is your learning goal? How many minutes per week do you have? What is the outcome that you're looking for? And then based on the answers that they give, the course should be personalized, or at least the learning path should be personalized towards what their goal is. I don't know how that's technically going to work, but I can see that this is something that the course platforms are going to experiment with moving forwards. There's something else I wanted to say here. So other ways to increase completion rates, and this is something that we are doubling down on, that we are going really hard on now with Teacher AI, is actually another way to increase completion rates is by making it more social, right? And making it more of a challenge, to make it some kind of sprint. And that's why challenges are so effective, right? It's like a group of people who all have the same learning goal. They all come together. They put in their work. There is a daily task. There is a community, a WhatsApp group where people are sharing, or a Telegram group or whatever, where people are sharing their progress every day. Ideally, it comes with a leaderboard so that people can compete to each other. Maybe there are like live hangouts where students can talk directly to the teacher, but also to other users. Like, these are all things that you can do to create a great community, to create a sense of belonging, so that people are not doing it alone, right? And it's just like going to the gym. Like, if you go with a friend, you're actually more likely to show up. And the better accountability that you can offer in your program, the higher the likelihood that people actually finish your course, right? So that's more like, that was not specifically a takeaway from this presentation, but the low completion rate thing is a problem. And hopefully you now have an idea of how you can increase your completion rates, not by push notifications, but actually having clear milestones, progress tracking, ideally build a community around it, make it something social, right? Interesting insight. So I just mentioned challenges, right? And the power of challenges and doing something live. Around 45% still prefers fully self-paced courses. So do not abandon your self-study courses yet, at least not yet, because it's still almost the majority of the people who are surveyed, right? So disclaimer. But about 35% do want some live element mixed in. So Q&A calls, group check-ins, live lessons, all those things that I just mentioned, right? And the thing is that even when you sell a challenge or something that's live, like a live cohort, you can still sell it as self-paced, right? You can say, we're going to start on the 1st of April, the 1st of May, but if you won't be able to show up every single day, no worries, you're going to get lifetime access to the materials. You can finish the course at your own pace, right? So you do not really have to choose between the two. So a more interesting move could be to build like a self-paced program and then add optional live layers on top of that so that you can relaunch it multiple times per year. And there's also a good marketing trick. So the idea is that you have a self-paced program, but if there is a self-paced program, there's not really any urgency, right? People can always buy it later, so it's more difficult to sell. So what you could do if you have a self-paced course is that 3 or 4 times per year you launch that same course in the form of a live cohort that comes with some kind of live element, right? So that you can create scarcity. Okay, part number 2. What the top creators are doing differently. So on Teachable, they have creators who are doing over 6 figures per year in revenue, and they have a bunch of creators doing over 7 figures per year, over $1 million in revenue every single year. And they look at what the high performers are doing differently from the more than 6 figures is, I would also consider that a high performer, but they are looking at what the biggest schools are doing different from the schools that are smaller. An interesting fact is that those who were doing over $1 million in revenue grew nearly 20% last year. Right? So if you're saying course businesses are dying, well, the biggest schools are still growing, actually. And the standalone courses are still the most sold product types by a wide margin. Also, while the biggest schools actually grew 20%, the smaller schools were actually, their revenue declined slightly. So it almost looks like AI is widening the gap. I'm not sure what else to make of that, but I thought it was an interesting number. The big difference between high-performing schools and those performing less is that high-performing schools has way higher average order value. So they're charging more and the students are paying it. Now, you could say some niches are just more profitable, more lucrative, right? If you are in finance, you can sell a course on trading stocks for, easily, I would say for a few $1,000s, and like if you're offering coaching or a group program, it could be more than that, right? But in general, higher performing schools are charging more, right? Also bundles. High performing schools understand the power of bundles. Bundles drove over 30% of GMV for elite creators, so for creators who do over $1 million per year. And the average bundle value for the top schools, was about $170, and for creators doing less, it was about $90. So it's nearly double, right? So if you have 2 or more courses, resources, or products, create bundles and then sell those bundles. You can offer them as an upsell, but you can also run multiple promotions per year selling those bundles. That can be a quick win. Coaching. So coaching is the fastest growing product category overall. This matches 100% with what we discussed at our mastermind in Lisbon last year, right? Where we said that now with AI, it's all about high ticket, right? You either go all in AI, you create AI product, low in pricing, but something extremely scalable, or you go the other way and you do the complete opposite. Instead of going AI, high volume, you create something very niche, very hands-on, very VIP. For example, selling high-ticket coaching, right? And that's also what they are seeing. So, yeah, our assumption kind of has been confirmed. Coaching and high-ticket is growing. What else do we have here? Yeah, again, top schools are typically charging much more for their coaching progress than schools with lower revenue. So pricing, I guess the point, like the takeaways here is that you should charge more, which is kind of the business advice that is quite generic, right? And that you should bundle. Now, the products that keep selling, top schools' products generate revenue over a longer time window than select creators. So it's not just about your launch. It's not about the initial launch. It's about creating systems, creating evergreen funnels, trying to sell your courses not just once, but a good course can actually keep selling for years. So for like the smaller schools, most of their total lifetime revenue might come from the first 6 months, for example, after the launch, right? But for top creators, that revenue will come from a time period that's much longer. So the course will continue to sell for much longer. So it's not really sure what to make of this, but it's probably a combination of things, right? So it's a stronger ongoing marketing, better evergreen positioning, more loyal customers that might refer other customers. I guess the lesson is just that the launch isn't the finish line. It's only a way to get started, right? Okay, so this one is big. The repurchase opportunity. And this was actually the most actionable stat in the whole presentation. 73% of the students on the Teachable platform have only ever bought once from the same creator. Yeah, and this one is interesting too. So students who make a second purchase generate 3 times more lifetime value or more lifetime revenue, right? So the time between purchases is also shorter, which each transaction. So which means that you should always try to sell. And this is also something that Olly always says, is like the easiest way to make more money is by just create more products, right? Because if you have a customer, the customer is very likely to buy a second course from you. And if they make a second purchase from you, on average, they actually generate 3 times more lifetime value. So most creator businesses are limited by the amount of traffic that they get. But if you don't, the fastest way to make more money short term is often by just launching more programs, right? And now with AI, that has become easier. It has become easier than ever to create new programs, new courses, and also the marketing materials that you need for that. And I'm gonna explain that in a minute. In fact, I'm gonna do that right now because we've come to part 3. So these are the takeaways from the presentation that Olly gave on the first day, right? So Olly has built one of the most recognized language learning brands online. It's called Story Learning, and he spent years getting AI completely wrong before he figured out what actually works, right? So he's in all these WhatsApp groups, and one person would say, I found out about this. AI. I built this with AI, and now it's possible to do this. He tried it all out, and he actually found out in the end he wasted a lot of time playing with all these new AI tools, but actually didn't really move the needle in his business. Right, so most people approach AI by chasing demos and features, creating cool things, but then after a few weeks they disappear, or they've built something that makes them zero money. Right, so Olly said, instead of asking what can I do with AI, start asking what would I do if I had 10 extra staff members. Right? Because that forces you to think about your actual business constraints. So these are the things that you're not doing because you don't have time or people. And then you build towards those. Right? So his business had gone through a painful period. He fired quite a few team members. AI and LLMs have affected the amount of traffic that he got on his website. He used to get lots of traffic from Google. AI didn't really save him. But it actually saved him, or it actually saved the business by letting a small team do what much larger teams could do. And he gave a bunch of examples of how AI first hurt his business or harmed his business, right? He lost all this traffic that came from the blog originally, but now he's actually making a revenge because he's using AI to his advantage. I'm going to cover that in a minute. So most of you have tried GPT. Claude has become really good. Claude Code is even more powerful, and that's a tool that Olly has been using for all the things that I'm going to share in a minute. So yeah, Claude Code has the word code in it, which puts most people off. And Olly, by the way, he's not technical at all and no development background, and that's the tool that he uses, right? So the interface is essentially a chat window. You describe what you want to play in English, and then it will build it, it will connect it to your existing tools, and it publishes it, right? So it's not just answering your question, no, it's actually doing the work for you, and you don't need any technical. The skill is not being technical, it's clarity of imagination, Olly said, right? So being able to picture what exactly you want and being able to describe that's a creative skill and not a coding skill. That's the thing that you need. Now, he shared 4 use cases, how he used Claude Code in his business. One is video consumption sequences, right? So Claude created a progress-based video player built directly on his website that handled the embedded, the navigation, the design, and the key takeaways under each videos, right? So he used to have this video sequence, and he used to send his users video by video, but now there's actually this cool web-based video player where people can kind of go from one video to the next one, and everything is nicely designed, and people can very easily navigate and check their progress while watching the videos. He built his version of this video player in about 7 minutes. Right, so think about like the kind of work that this replaces. A developer, a designer. It would have been weeks of back and forth, and now like you can just create something like this in just 7 minutes, right? He also built an interactive quiz with an AI mentor, right? So upload your assessment questions, and then Claude Code will turn it into a fully branded interactive quiz with a visual results dashboard. When people used to join, or I think it's still the case, when people join Olly's mentorship program, they have to do a business diagnostic, right? So Olly sends them to a Google Sheet with dozens of questions, I don't know, 40 or 50 questions that you have to answer about your business to discover the bottleneck. And yeah, this used to be in a Google Sheet, but now it's actually a cool online assessment. Which is basically, which comes in the form of a fully branded interactive quiz. And then on the last page, it shows the user the result of that quiz, and it actually gives them, it says, okay, so based on your answers, here are the constraints in your business. And then based on all Olly's business content and Olly's philosophy and like the knowledge base, here's the actual business advice. Right, and that's something that Claude came up by itself. That was Claude's idea. Olly didn't even ask it for that. So even if you don't know exactly what you need, just start talking to it, and Claude actually will actually have some really good ideas that you can then go ahead and even fine tune. Right. So at the end, students they also get a button to copy their results and discuss that with the AI Olly, a chatbot that he made, a chatbot of himself that has all his knowledge that he created for his for the people in his program. If you wanted to build an assessment tool like this with like existing software. Like this software can cost up to like $99 per month. But he built this one in 7 minutes, and it will be for him forever. Right. And this is actually something like this kind of quizzes are actually great for language educators. Right. So think about level assessments or placement quizzes, diagnostic tools. This is something that you can implement very quickly. Also, you can also use this for lead gen, of course. The third use case is a voice note to a live webinar in under a minute, right? So Olly dictates a short voice note, a topic, date, time, 3 bullet points, and a full registration page goes live on his website. You just talk to it, right? You don't even need to type anymore. And behind the scenes, Claude built a template that connects via an IPA to Zoom. It then auto-creates the meeting, registered the attendees, and this email platform, right? So it tags all the subscribers and it triggers all the automations. So the whole thing from a voice note to like a webinar registration page, it takes about 10 seconds. It's just a 10-minute voice message. Of course, you need to connect Claude Code with all the tools that you are using, right? But actual prompting is a matter of seconds. And this removes so much friction from running regular live events. And again, if you don't know how to do all of this, just ask Claude, right? Okay, this one is kind of extreme. I found this one really interesting. So the fourth use case, 1 email, 60 personalized versions, right? So Olly serves students across 15 languages and multiple proficiency levels, right? So as you can imagine, like he has many segments. People want to learn a different language. They have different native languages. They are at different levels. They have different learning goals. Some of them want to spend an hour per day, other ones only 5 minutes per day, right? So you have all these variables, and if you make combinations, then you could easily end up with over 50, over 60 customer profiles, right? And ideally in copywriting, when you write copy, you write for that exact avatar, right? But if you have 50 different avatars, then how are you going to nail your copy? It's almost impossible, right? But now with AI, can actually do that. So there is a feature in most email software now. I think it's called, I need to double check this, but I think it's called liquid text, right? So you can actually connect your Kit account to your knowledge base that has all the information about all your ideal avatars. And then you can send out, you just create one email with all these liquid text. You send out one email, but people receive 60 different versions, right? Every user receives the copy that's tailored to who they are and what they want. You still need to review before sending, but the heavy lifting is done. And this is something that was impossible before we had AI, right? Because it was just too much work. Like writing 60 versions of your sales copy every single time you send out an email was just impossible. But LLMs can do that now. So if you want to learn more how that works, again, just ask Claude. Tell it what email software you're using. I think it's called Liquid Text again, and then it will tell you how to do it. But yeah, crazy that all these things are possible now. Okay. Last use case. And I think this was the most impressive one. We call it the product launch machine, right? So here's where it all comes together. As I said earlier on this podcast episode, that the easiest way for course creators to make more money is often by just launching more courses, at least at the beginning, or at least in the short term. But the thing is that creating courses and creating all the pre-sales materials, all the marketing materials, all the funnels, the sales pages, checkout pages, it's a lot of work, right? And if you have, let's say, if you teach 10 different things, 10 different languages, and you want to launch a challenge for those 10 languages every single month, and you also need the marketing materials for all of those 10 challenges, I mean, that's a lot of work. That's, I don't know, you need at least 10 teachers to create the courses, right? And then you need a copywriter or like somebody who manages all the funnels. You might need 2 or 3. So this requires a huge team. But now with AI, it can all be done by one person. And that's how Olly does it, right? And this insight came from a photographer who ran a new workshop every single month because his customers always wanted something new. The same people kept buying again and again. So yeah, that's like a thing from the that's how the photography niche works, right? Somebody wants to learn portrait, and then they want nature, and then they want to learn something new every month. And language learning is actually quite simple. It's actually quite similar. So Olly built a system. It's a chain of prompts that takes a 5-minute voice note and generates every single marketing asset automatically. And then one person reviews all of that and publishes it, right? So he mentioned that last month he created and launched masterclasses for Chinese, Arabic, Korean, Russian, Danish, Norwegian, and Swedish. Everything came with, so it was the masterclass, it came with a sales page, an email sequence, a checkout page. It was all built and published in one single day. Let that sink in. One single day to create all these courses and all the marketing materials for it. This used to take a month. And it would have taken, I don't know, 8 people to do this job in 1 month, right? So 8 people 1 month, and now just one person in 1 day. So the whole project might have cost 5K, but then you turn one person on your team can turn that 5K into 50 grand, right? Every single month. Again, if you have the audience. So having an audience is still the most valuable thing, because as long as you have that, you can apply all these tricks that I'm talking about here, right? So the big takeaway here, the biggest mistake that you can make now is by saying, okay, Jan, thanks for all these tips. I'm going to do everything you just said, right? Instead, ask yourself what the biggest constraint in your business is, and what would you do if you had 10 extra staff members? I think for most of you, it still comes down to traffic, right? As long as you grow traffic, everything else gets easier. But there's way more things that you can do with AI now. For example, mass creating and launching new courses. We actually did this. We followed this, I would say, a similar strategy with Teacher AI last month, where we partnered up with a bunch of Italian teachers with big audiences, and we said, you know what, we can run a speaking challenge for you, right? And we said every single day, your students will receive a video message from you where you answer a question. And then we give them a breakdown of the transcript, and we highlight the most important vocabulary, and we give them the translations. And then we ask them to reply to that question themselves, right? And they can practice with AI, with the app that we've built, Teacher AI. And then the content from that course matches with the questions that we have available in the app, right? So the curriculum is aligned. And then we let AI do all the work. Right, AI gives the feedback, it does the teaching, and gives the corrections. And so the product was quite easy to create now with AI, because AI does most of the work. It does most of the delivery, basically. And then as for the marketing materials, I just talked to Claude and said, okay, we need a 4-day email campaign. Give me suggestions on how to structure the campaign. And then I gave them all the input, told them everything about the product, shared some stories, and that was a swipe copy. Done. Same thing for the sales page. I left a long voice message where I gave it all the details about the product. I think I actually asked Claude to interview me about the product, about the challenge. I gave it all the information, and then it wrote the copy and it designed the sales page in a way so that it actually matches with the Teacher AI branding, right? I gave it our website as a reference, and then it scanned the website and it looked at the tone of voice and the colors, the branding colors. It went ahead and it designed the website. Now this took a bit of back and forth to get the website or the landing page right. And in the end, I did actually ask our WordPress team to rebuild the website in a way so that I can make small changes myself, and that it doesn't break the whole thing, because that is something that sometimes happens when you use AI to build and design websites. But we build all the marketing materials and the course materials for this challenge it was still quite a bit of work. I did a lot of stuff myself for this first time, but we created it in days and not in months. And we could do this every single month, right? Again, because AI does delivery, it helps us create the materials, and then it can help us create the marketing materials almost instantly. Okay. So again, I had Claude actually help me create the notes for this podcast, right? And it says here, part 4, your takeaways, what to actually do. It says add AI to your onboarding survey, throw out your reminder email strategy and replace it with a roadmap. Pull your one-time buyer list and sit with it for a minute. What is the next step on the next course that you could sell them? Build a bundle if you don't have one, or run bundle promotions more often. And pick one thing from Olly's playbook from those five examples. I think the advice that Claude's actually giving me here, I think is wrong. I think instead, you should do what Olly said. Ask yourself what you would do if you had 10 extra team members. What is the bottleneck in your business? What is the one bottleneck, and how can having 10 more team members help you solve that problem? And then let Claude code. Let it do the work for you. And you are there to guide it, right? So, that's it. Those were my biggest takeaways from Amsterdam. I feel like this industry is changing faster than ever, and I think everybody is feeling behind. Listening to this podcast is good, but actually free up some time for yourself and ask yourself what the constraint in your business is, and see how these LLMs, including Claude Code, can actually help you solve those things. Going down the rabbit holes, that's probably the most powerful thing that you can do as an action point of this podcast episode, right? So I'm going to say it once more, just for you. What is preventing your course business from growth, and how can AI help you overcome that bottleneck? And if you don't know how it does, just ask it. Okay, so now go ahead and experiment, go down the rabbit hole, and become better at AI, because I feel like the gap between the amateurs and like the big schools is becoming bigger and bigger. So don't get left behind. And if you like this episode, and if you like this topic, and if you like the idea of joining one of these events, that's good news. Because in October, it's the 4th until the 9th of October 2026 this year, we're going to run another mastermind event. This one is going to be the tropical version, our tropical mastermind retreat. It's going to take place in Tenerife. I've rented out a private resort with a chef. It's a small resort with, I think there's like 25 studios, and we have all of the coolest Langpreneurs flying in from all over the world. Spend a week together, mastermind, see what's working for everybody, exchanging ideas, and just have a really good time. Right? That's it. That's it for today, and thanks for listening. See you in the next episode. Ciao, ciao.